Captain Taman stood before the large viewing screen in his ship's command center. The stars looked the same as always, but today felt different. His tall, blue-skinned frame cast a shadow across the metal floor as he read the daily reports from the observation stations scattered across the galaxy. Another routine day watching the primitives, he thought to himself. As a member of the Viridian species, Taman could read the thoughts of most other beings. But humans were different. Their minds were closed to him, which made them both interesting and annoying. He picked up the report from Nexus 7, the hidden station that watched Earth. For the past 50 years, this station had been sending back data about the strange blue planet and its violent inhabitants. The humans fascinated some coalition scientists, but most leaders saw them as just another failed species that would destroy itself soon enough. Dr. Haya Jin sat in her small laboratory aboard Nexus 7, studying the latest images from Earth. The station hung invisible in space, using advanced technology to hide from human detection. She had been watching these creatures for 20 years now, and every day they surprised her more. The humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be stupid and violent. But Hyejin saw something else when she looked at their cities and their machines. She saw a species that learned fast and never gave up. When they faced problems, they found new ways to solve them. When they fought wars, they always came back stronger. "Look at this," she said to her assistant, pointing at the screen. The image showed a human settlement on their moon. 5 years ago, they could barely reach their own moon. Now they have permanent bases there. Her assistant, a small creature with 6 arms, clicked his mandibles in dismissal. "They are still primitive, Doctor. They cannot even travel to other stars." Hyejin frowned. She had heard this same comment for years. Everyone in the coalition believed that faster-than-light travel was the only sign of true civilization. Without it, a species was considered worthless. But something bothered her about the human progress reports. The numbers didn't always make sense. On Earth, Commander Dongwu walked through the underground facility hidden beneath the mountains of Korea. The tunnels stretched for miles, filled with the most advanced technology his planet had ever seen. But this technology was not entirely human-made. 25 years ago, the first alien probe had crashed in the Pacific Ocean. Instead of announcing the discovery to the world, a secret group of scientists and military officers had hidden it. They studied every piece of the strange machine, learning how it worked and why it was watching them. Dongwu remembered the day they realized the truth. Earth was not alone in the universe. Aliens were watching them from hidden stations, studying them like animals in a zoo. The aliens thought humans were too primitive to notice, but they were wrong. "Commander," called Engineer Kyung-ho from across the workshop, "the new drive system is ready for testing." Dongwu smiled as he walked over to examine the device. It looked nothing like the original alien technology they had found, but it worked on the same principles. Human engineers had taken the alien designs and made them better. The new drive was smaller, faster, and more powerful than anything the aliens used. "When do we test it?" Dongwu asked. "Tonight," Kyung-ho replied. "The probe ship is ready. If this works, we will have faster-than-light travel." Back on Nexus 7, Hyejin was having trouble sleeping. She kept thinking about the strange readings she had detected near Earth's moon. For a few seconds, her instruments had picked up an energy signature that looked like faster-than-light engine activation. But that was impossible. Humans didn't have that technology yet. She pulled up the data on her computer and studied it again. The reading was weak and lasted only a moment, but it was definitely there. She ran the signature through the Coalition database, but found no matches. Whatever had created that energy burst was using technology that the Coalition had never seen before. Maybe it was just interference from their radio signals, she told herself. But deep down, she knew that wasn't true. Thousands of light years away, the Coalition High Council was meeting in their grand chamber on the capital world of Zentara. 12 different species sat around a circular table, discussing the affairs of their vast empire. Each species looked different. Some were tall and thin, others short and wide, some had scales, others had fur, but they all shared one thing in common. They believed they were superior to every other form of life in the galaxy. Chancellor Bei Ho, leader of the crystal-based Nexari species, called the meeting to order. His body sparkled like a living diamond as he spoke. Today, we discuss the quarterly reports from our observation stations. Admiral Subin, head of the Coalition military forces, stood up. Her red skin gleamed under the chamber lights as she activated a holographic display. Most primitive worlds show no significant changes. A few species have developed basic spaceflight, but nothing concerning. The display showed images from dozens of worlds. Some had creatures that looked like giant insects, others had beings that resembled walking plants. Earth appeared on the screen, showing its blue oceans and white clouds. "What about this one?" asked Ambassador Jawan, pointing at Earth with one of his 4 arms. Admiral Subin shrugged. "The humans continue their usual behavior. They fight wars, pollute their environment, and waste resources. Our projections show they will likely destroy themselves within the next 200 years. Several council members laughed at this. The idea of a species destroying itself was not uncommon. The Coalition had watched many worlds die because their inhabitants could not learn to live in peace. "They do show unusual creativity," added another council member. "But creativity without wisdom is dangerous. These humans prove that point perfectly." Chancellor Beho nodded in agreement. "We will continue standard observation protocols. If they survive their current phase of development, we can reassess in another century." The council moved on to other business, dismissing Earth as just another failed experiment in evolution. None of them noticed the small data inconsistency in their reports, energy readings that didn't match any known technology. Back in his underground facility, Commander Dongwu received the message he had been waiting for. The test flight was complete, and it had been a success. Humanity now had faster-than-light travel, and the aliens watching them had no idea. He walked to his office and opened a secure communication channel to similar facilities around the world. In hidden bases beneath the ice of Antarctica, in underwater cities in the deepest ocean trenches, and in hollowed-out asteroids floating in space, human scientists and engineers were working on the same project. "Phase 1 is complete," Dongwu announced to the faces on his screen. "We can now travel faster than light. Phase 2 begins tomorrow." General Wu Jin, speaking from the lunar facility, leaned forward. "How long until the fleet is ready?" 6 months, Dongwu replied. "Maybe less if we push production. The ships are nearly finished. We just need to install the new drives." Dr. Hyajin didn't know it, but her lonely watch in the observation station was about to end. For 50 years, the Coalition had watched humanity from the shadows, judging them and finding them lacking. But humanity had been watching back, learning from their watchers, and preparing for the day when they would no longer be content to stay hidden on their small blue world. The aliens thought they stood alone at the top of galactic civilization, ruling over lesser species from their mighty ships and advanced worlds. They had no idea that the storm clouds were gathering, that the primitives they had dismissed were about to show them what real power looked like. In the depths of space, invisible to Coalition sensors, the first human starship prepared for its maiden voyage to the stars. The age of human isolation was ending, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. 3 months after the successful test flight, strange reports began reaching Coalition headquarters. Admiral Subin stood in her office, reading the latest incident report with growing concern. This was the 5th outpost to go silent in the past month. "Tell me again what happened at Mining Station Theta 7, she said to Captain Taman, who had just arrived from the investigation site. Taman's blue skin looked pale as he spoke. "The station simply vanished, Admiral. One moment it was there, sending normal reports. The next moment, our sensors detected a massive energy release. When our ships arrived, we found nothing but debris and radiation." "Any survivors?" "None. The destruction was complete. But, Admiral, there's something else." Taman activated a holographic display. "We found these energy readings at the site. They don't match any weapon in our database." Admiral Subin studied the data. The energy signature was unlike anything she had seen in her 40 years of military service. It was powerful, focused, and completely unknown. Could it be a new weapon developed by one of the rebel species? We considered that, but no known species has this technology. The energy output alone would require power systems beyond anything we've encountered. Meanwhile, on Nexus 7, Dr. Hai-Jin was making her own disturbing discoveries. She had been trying to verify her Earth observation data when she noticed something impossible. The records showed gaps, small periods where the monitoring systems had apparently malfunctioned. "Computer, show me all system failures for the past 10 years, she commanded. The display showed dozens of brief interruptions in the surveillance. Equipment. Each failure lasted only a few minutes, but they occurred regularly. Too regularly to be accidents. Computer, cross-reference these failures with human space activity. The results made her blood run cold. Every system failure coincided, exactly with human spacecraft launches or satellite deployments. It was as if someone was deliberately blinding the observation station during specific human activities. Hai-Jin realized with growing horror that the humans somehow knew they were being watched. But how was that possible? Coalition technology was supposed to be invisible to primitive species. She began digging deeper into the historical records. What she found made her question everything she thought she knew about human development. According to the official reports, humans had made steady but unremarkable progress in space technology. But when she looked at the raw sensor data, she saw something different. The humans were advancing much faster than the reports indicated. Their rockets were more powerful, their computers more advanced, their materials stronger. Someone had been systematically altering the observation reports to make human progress appear slower than it actually was. On Earth, Commander Dongwu stood in the main assembly bay of the lunar shipyard. The sight before him would have amazed the coalition leaders if they could have seen it. Dozens of sleek warships floated in the artificial gravity fields, each one incorporating the best of human and alien technology. "How many are combat ready?" he asked General Wu Jin. 57 ships are fully operational, the general replied. Another 30 will be ready within the month. Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a coalition battlecruiser. Engineer Kyung Ho approached them, holding a data pad. "Commander, we've completed the analysis of the latest alien probe we captured. We now understand their shield technology and communication systems." Dongwu smiled grimly. "And their weaknesses?" "Many," Kyung Ho replied. "They rely too heavily on automated systems. Their ships are powerful but inflexible. Most importantly, they've never faced an enemy that understands their technology as well as we do." The truth was that humanity had been capturing coalition monitoring probes for 20 years. Each captured device revealed more about alien technology and tactics. Human scientists had reverse-engineered everything from faster-than-light drives to energy weapons to cloaking devices. But the coalition remained unaware of these losses. The humans had learned to replace each captured probe with a perfect duplicate that continued sending false information back to coalition headquarters. Captain Nei Young materialized in the command center using her new cloaking device. As leader of the human infiltration teams, she had spent the last 5 years preparing for this moment. Her body had been surgically modified to resemble a member of the insectoid Krillian species, complete with extra arms and compound eyes. "Report," Dongwu ordered. "All infiltration teams are in position," she replied in her disguised voice. "We have agents aboard coalition ships in their research facilities and even in their government buildings. When the time comes, we can cripple their communication networks and navigation systems from within." The plan was ambitious and dangerous. Human agents, altered to look like various alien species, had infiltrated coalition society at every level. They worked as technicians, soldiers, scientists, and even advisors to high-ranking officials. The coalition's own arrogance had made the infiltration possible. They never suspected that primitive humans could have such advanced surgical and genetic modification technology. Back in coalition space, the mysterious attacks continued. "Admiral," Subin found herself facing her worst nightmare, an unknown enemy with superior technology. The attacks followed no pattern she could understand. Military outposts, mining stations, research facilities, and communication arrays were all targets. "Admiral," reported her aide, "we've lost contact with Science Station Alpha 12. Subin closed her eyes in frustration. "Same energy signature?" "Yes, Admiral. Complete destruction, no survivors, unknown weapon technology. Ambassador Jaewon." Entered the command center, his 4 arms gesturing anxiously. "Admiral, the High Council is demanding answers. 3 more worlds have requested additional protection. The outer colonies are starting to panic." "What am I supposed to tell them?" Subin replied angrily. That we're being attacked by ghosts? We can't track these ships, we can't identify their weapons, and we can't predict where they'll strike next. On Nexus 7, Dr. Hyojin made a discovery that changed everything. While analyzing the energy signatures from the Coalition attacks, she noticed something familiar. The unknown weapon technology produced radiation patterns that reminded her of something she had seen before. She pulled up her files on human nuclear technology. The match wasn't perfect, but there were similarities. The unknown weapons seemed to use principles related to human fusion research, but advanced far beyond anything humans were supposed to possess. It can't be, she whispered to herself. But, as she dug deeper into the data, the evidence became overwhelming. The attacks on Coalition facilities were being carried out by ships using modified human technology. Dr. He-Jin tried to contact Coalition headquarters, but her communications were being mysteriously blocked. Every time she attempted to send a message warning about human involvement in the attacks, the transmission failed. She began to suspect that the communication failures were not accidental. Unknown to her, Captain Na Young's infiltration team had taken control of Nexus 7's communication systems months earlier. They had been carefully monitoring all transmissions, allowing routine reports to pass through while blocking anything that might reveal the truth about human capabilities. As the attacks continued, patterns began to emerge that only a few Coalition scientists noticed. Each target had been a facility involved in monitoring primitive worlds, research stations studying pre-space flight civilizations, communication arrays used to coordinate observation missions, and military outposts protecting the outer territories. Where primitive worlds were located, someone was systematically dismantling the Coalition's ability to watch and control developing species. But the Coalition leadership remained focused on military responses rather than investigating the deeper meaning behind the attacks. Commander Dongwu received the final confirmation he had been waiting for. All human ships were ready. All infiltration teams were in position, and the moment had arrived to reveal humanity's true nature to the galaxy. Send the signal, he ordered. Across human space, from hidden bases on Earth to secret shipyards in the asteroid belt, the message was received. Phase 2 was beginning. Soon the Coalition would learn that the primitives they had dismissed and ignored for so long had been preparing a surprise that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The gathering storm was about to break, and when it did, nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The aliens who thought they stood alone at the top of galactic civilization were about to discover that humanity had been watching them just as carefully as they had been watching humanity. But unlike the Coalition, humans had learned from what they observed, and they were ready to use that knowledge. Scientist Inho stared at the holographic display in his laboratory, his 6 eyes focusing on different parts of the data simultaneously. As the Coalition's top researcher studying the mysterious attacks, he had been analyzing every piece of evidence for weeks. What he discovered made his scaled skin turn pale with fear. The attack pattern isn't random, he said to his assistant. Look at these coordinates. Every destroyed facility is located along the same routes that primitive species use for their early space exploration. His assistant, a floating creature with tentacles instead of arms, moved closer to examine the data. What does that mean? It means someone has been tracking primitive species movements for decades. They know exactly where our observation posts are located because they've been watching us watch them. Inho pulled up another display showing energy signatures from the attacks. He had been running them through every database in Coalition space, but found no matches. However, when he modified the search parameters to include theoretical technology based on primitive fusion principles, he got a hit. Computer, show me all records of species developing fusion-based weapons. The display filled with data from hundreds of worlds. Most showed basic nuclear weapons, crude devices that primitive species often developed before learning better energy sources. But one entry made Inho's blood freeze. Earth. Human fusion technology advancement rate, 347% above predicted levels. Inho quickly accessed the full Earth observation files. According to the reports, humans had developed fusion power, but were still decades away from practical fusion weapons. But the energy signatures from the Coalition attacks suggested someone was using highly advanced fusion-based technology. Computer, cross-reference attack locations with historical human space probe trajectories. The results appeared on screen, and In-Ho felt his legs go weak. Every single Coalition facility that had been destroyed was located along routes that human space probes had traveled in the past 50 years. The correlation was perfect. Too perfect to be coincidence. Dr. Hyojin sat alone in her quarters aboard Nexus 7, finally understanding the terrible truth. She had spent hours comparing the attack data with her own records of human space activity. The evidence was overwhelming and frightening. Humans had been secretly mapping Coalition space for decades. Every probe they launched, every satellite they deployed, every mission they claimed was for peaceful exploration had actually been gathering intelligence on alien facilities and technology. She pulled up the communication logs and tried once again to contact Coalition headquarters. The transmission failed, just like all her previous attempts. But this time she noticed something in the error message. The communication failure was being caused by interference from an unknown source near Earth. "They're jamming my signals," she realized. "The humans know I'm here, and they're preventing me from warning the Coalition." Hyojin began to understand how completely the Coalition had been outmaneuvered. While they had been watching humans and judging them as primitive, the humans had been studying them right back. But humans had been smarter about it. They had remained hidden while learning everything they could about Coalition technology and tactics. On Earth, Captain Na Young stood before a massive wall display showing Coalition space. Red dots marked every facility that had been destroyed, while green dots showed targets still to be eliminated. The scope of the operation was impressive. Human forces had been systematically dismantling Coalition intelligence networks across half the galaxy. Phase 2 is proceeding on schedule, she reported to Commander Dongwu. Coalition forces are confused and scattered. They still don't know who's attacking them or why. Any signs they've figured out our involvement? Dongwu asked. A few of their scientists are getting close to the truth, but our jamming systems are preventing them from sharing their discoveries. The Coalition leadership remains convinced they're facing an unknown alien threat. General Wu Jin joined the conversation via holographic projection from the lunar base. Our infiltration teams report that Coalition military forces are being pulled back to defend their core worlds. The outer territories are becoming lightly defended. This was exactly what the humans had planned. By creating fear and confusion, they were forcing the Coalition to concentrate their forces in defensive positions. This would make the Coalition's response slower and less effective when humans finally revealed themselves. Captain Tae Min paced nervously in his quarters, reading the latest intelligence reports. As one of the few Coalition officers who specialized in studying primitive species, he was beginning to see patterns that others missed. "Computer, show me all observation reports from Earth for the past 20 years. As the data appeared, Tae Min noticed subtle inconsistencies. Human technological advancement was documented in waves, periods of rapid progress followed by apparent slowdowns. But the pattern was too regular, too convenient. Computer, analyze the timing of human technological breakthroughs against our probe deployment schedules." The results made Tae Min's telepathic abilities surge with alarm. Every major human advancement had occurred shortly after the Coalition had sent new monitoring equipment to Earth's solar system. The humans weren't just developing technology, they were stealing it from Coalition probes. Tae Min tried to contact Admiral Subin, but his communication was blocked by system failures. He tried alternate channels, but they were all mysteriously offline. Someone was preventing Coalition officers from sharing critical information with each other. In the Coalition High Council chambers, emergency meetings were being held daily. Chancellor Beiho's crystal body flickered with stress patterns as he listened to increasingly dire reports from across Coalition space. "We've lost 37 facilities in the past month," Admiral Subin reported. "Our outer defense network is collapsing. Military commanders are requesting permission to abandon non-essential positions and consolidate our forces." Ambassador Jae-won gestured with all four arms in frustration. "We still have no idea who's attacking us or what they want. Are they trying to conquer our territory or just destroy our infrastructure?" "The targets suggest they're specifically trying to blind us," another council member observed. "Almost every destroyed facility was involved in monitoring primitive worlds. Perhaps one of those primitive species has somehow acquired advanced technology," Chancellor Beho considered this possibility. Computer, analyze all primitive species under observation. Identify any that show unusual technological advancement. The display showed dozens of worlds with developing species. Most showed normal. Progression, slow but steady advancement in technology and social organization. But one entry stood out. Earth shows several anomalies, the computer reported. Technological advancement rate exceeds predictions. Resource utilization patterns suggest hidden industrial capacity. Communication intercepts indicate awareness of extraterrestrial observation. Admiral Subin leaned forward. Are you suggesting that humans are responsible for the attacks? Impossible, another council member replied. They don't even have faster-than-light travel. But Chancellor Beho was studying the data more carefully. Computer, when was our last direct observation of human space capabilities? Direct observation was discontinued 15 years ago due to budget limitations. Current data comes from automated monitoring stations. And when did the attacks begin? Approximately 6 months ago. Chancellor Beho's crystal body darkened with worry. We haven't actually verified human capabilities in 15 years. We've been relying on automated systems that could have been compromised. In his underground command center, Commander Dongwu watched the Coalition's growing panic with satisfaction. Intelligence reports from infiltrated facilities showed that Coalition leaders were finally beginning to suspect the truth, but it was too late for them to respond effectively. How long until the Coalition figures out who's really attacking them? Asked Engineer Kyung-ho. It doesn't matter, Dongwu replied. By the time they understand what's happening, Phase 3 will already be complete. We'll have eliminated their ability to coordinate a defense. The genius of the human plan was its simplicity. Instead of challenging the Coalition directly, humans had chosen to systematically destroy their intelligence and communication networks. Without these systems, the Coalition's vast military power would be useless. They wouldn't know where to send their forces or how to coordinate their response. Dr. Hyojin made one final attempt to warn the Coalition. Using emergency protocols, she activated the station's most powerful transmitter and aimed it directly at Coalition headquarters. The message was simple. Humans are responsible for the attacks. They have faster-than-light travel and advanced weapons. Recommend immediate defensive measures around Earth. For a moment, it seemed like the transmission might succeed. But then Captain Na Young's infiltration team activated their jamming systems at full power. The message was reduced to meaningless static before it could reach Coalition space. Hyojin realized that her long watch was ending. The humans she had studied and admired for so many years were about to become her enemies. Fleet Admiral Sung-hoon stood on the bridge of the flagship, Seoul's Pride, watching as hundreds of human warships prepared for the most important military operation in their species' history. The massive fleet hung invisible in the darkness. Between stars, their cloaking systems keeping them hidden from Coalition sensors. All ships report ready, Admiral, announced Captain Yoon-soo from her position at the tactical station. 147 vessels armed and prepared for Phase 3. Sung-hoon nodded grimly. For months, human forces had been systematically destroying Coalition observation posts and communication relays. The aliens still didn't know who was attacking them or why. That was about to change in the most dramatic way possible. Open a channel to all fleet commanders, Sung-hoon ordered. The communication system activated, connecting him to ship captains scattered across a dozen star systems. Each captain commanded a strike force targeting a different Coalition world, not to conquer, but to demonstrate that humanity could strike anywhere, anytime. Today we end our species' childhood, Sung-hoon announced. For 50 years, the Coalition has watched us from the shadows, judging us and finding us lacking. They see us as primitive creatures who will destroy ourselves before we can threaten their comfortable dominance of the galaxy. Today we prove them wrong. On the Coalition capital world of Zentara, Chancellor Beho was holding yet another emergency council session. The mysterious attacks had become more frequent and more devastating. Coalition military forces were stretched thin, trying to protect their vast territory from an enemy they couldn't identify or track. We need to face the possibility that we're dealing with a completely unknown species, Admiral Subin reported. The weapon technology is unlike anything in our databases. The attack patterns suggest advanced strategic thinking and detailed knowledge of our defensive systems. Ambassador Jaewon gestured nervously with his 4 arms. But where could such a species come from? We've mapped every star system in this part of the galaxy. There are no advanced civilizations we haven't contacted. Perhaps they come from beyond our mapped territory, suggested another council member, an extragalactic invasion force. Chancellor Beho studied the holographic display showing Coalition space. Red markers indicated destroyed facilities, while yellow markers showed worlds requesting additional protection. The pattern of destruction was clearly designed to isolate Coalition worlds from each other and cripple their ability to coordinate responses. Admiral, what is the status of our home fleet? He asked. 90% of our most powerful ships are defending the core worlds, Subin replied. The outer territories have only minimal protection. This was exactly what the humans had intended. By creating fear and confusion, they had forced the Coalition to pull their forces back to defend their most important worlds. The outer territories, where most primitive species lived, were now lightly defended. Aboard Nexus 7, Dr. Hai-Jin watched her instruments with growing alarm. Energy readings near Earth were spiking to unprecedented levels. Massive power sources were activating across the human solar system, far more power than their civilization should have been capable of generating. Computer, identify the source of these energy readings, she commanded. Unable to identify. Energy signatures do not match any known human technology. But Hai-Jin knew better. The energy signatures were similar to Coalition faster-than-light drives, but modified and improved. The humans weren't just using stolen alien technology, they had made it better. Suddenly, her long-range sensors detected something impossible. Ships were materializing throughout the solar system. Dozens of them, all using advanced cloaking technology. But these weren't Coalition vessels. The design was completely different, incorporating elements of human and alien engineering. My God, she whispered. They've been building a fleet. Captain Na Young smiled as she watched Coalition communication networks collapse under the weight of coordinated cyber attacks. Her infiltration teams had spent years planting viruses and backdoors in alien computer systems. Now, at the crucial moment, they were activating all their hidden programs simultaneously. Coalition military coordination is down to 30%. Efficiency, she reported to Commander Dongwu. Their fleet commanders can't communicate with each other or with headquarters. Perfect, Dongwu replied. Admiral Sung-hoon's forces will have maximum tactical advantage. The human plan was working flawlessly. While Coalition forces scrambled to respond to mysterious attacks, human infiltrators were sabotaging their ability to mount an effective defense. Communication systems failed, navigation computers provided false data, and weapon targeting systems experienced mysterious malfunctions. Fleet Admiral Sung-hoon checked his chronometer. In exactly 60 seconds, human forces would simultaneously attack 12 Coalition worlds. Each attack would be precisely coordinated to cause maximum psychological impact while minimizing civilian casualties. All ships, prepare for faster-than-light. Jump, he announced. Target coordinates confirmed. Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to deliver a message. The countdown reached 0, and space around the flagship exploded with light as the human fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives. Chancellor Beho was in the middle of discussing defensive strategies when alarms began blaring throughout. The council chamber. Emergency lights flashed as automated systems detected multiple faster-than-light arrivals throughout Coalition space. "Report!" he demanded. "Sir, we're detecting massive fleet movements," a technician announced. "Unknown ships are appearing in 12 different star systems simultaneously." Admiral Subin's face went pale. "Show me the tactical display." The holographic map of Coalition space filled with new markers, red dots indicating hostile ships, that had appeared without warning at some of the Coalition's most important worlds. The fleet was huge, easily matching the Coalition's entire home defense force. "How is this possible?" Ambassador Jaewon asked. "Our sensors should have detected any approaching fleet days in advance." "They're using cloaking technology," Subin replied grimly. "But it's more advanced than anything we've encountered. They were able to approach our core worlds completely undetected." Dr. Hai-Jin watched in amazement as the human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel around Earth. The ships were beautiful and terrifying, sleek designs that combined human engineering with alien technology. Each vessel bristled with weapons that her instruments identified as advanced fusion-based energy cannons. "Computer, estimate the firepower of the human fleet," she commanded. "Insufficient data. Weapon technology appears to be beyond current coalition specifications." But Hyejin didn't need computer analysis to understand what she was seeing. The humans had built a war fleet capable of challenging the coalition's military supremacy. More importantly, they had done it in complete secrecy while the coalition watched and judged them as primitive. Fleet Admiral Sung Hoon's flagship dropped out of faster-than-light travel in orbit around Zentara, the coalition capital world. Around him, the human fleet took up positions that surrounded the planet while staying just outside the range of its defensive systems. "Coalition forces are moving to intercept," Captain Yoon Soo reported. 27 heavy cruisers and 43 escort vessels. "Let them come," Sung Hoon replied. "But don't fire unless they attack first. We're here to talk, not to start a war." On the planet below, coalition military commanders scrambled to respond to the sudden appearance of a massive, hostile fleet. But their communications were being jammed, their targeting systems were experiencing failures, and their coordination was breaking down due to human cyber warfare. Admiral Subin tried desperately to contact her fleet commanders, but half her communication channels were offline. The few ships that could receive orders were reporting system malfunctions and equipment failures. "Someone has been sabotaging our systems for months," she realized. "This isn't just an invasion. It's the culmination of a long-term campaign." Chancellor Beho stood before the council chamber's main viewing screen, watching human ships position themselves around his world. The vessels were clearly built for war, but they weren't attacking. Instead, they seemed to be waiting for something. "Are they trying to communicate?" he asked. "All communication frequencies are being jammed," a technician reported. "Wait, I'm receiving a transmission on an emergency channel." "Put it through." The viewing screen filled with the image of a human male in military uniform. Chancellor Beho had seen humans before in observation reports, but seeing one addressing him directly was shocking. The creature looked so ordinary, so unremarkable. It was hard to believe that this primitive species had somehow built a fleet capable of threatening coalition space. Fleet Admiral Sung Hoon looked directly into the camera, his expression calm but determined. "Leaders of the coalition, I am Fleet Admiral Sung Hoon of the United Earth Defense Force. For 50 years you have watched my people from the shadows. You have observed us, studied us, and judged us. You found us primitive and violent, unworthy of joining your galactic community." He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "You were half right. We are violent. But we are not primitive. And we are no longer content to remain hidden on our small world while you decide our fate from the shadows." President Hae Rim sat in the conference room aboard the Earth flagship, looking across the table at Chancellor Beho and the other coalition leaders. 3 weeks had passed since humanity's dramatic revelation, and now it was time to negotiate the terms of a new galactic order. The negotiations had not been easy. The coalition's initial response had been anger and demands for human surrender. But when human forces demonstrated their superior technology by effortlessly defeating coalition fleets in several small battles, the aliens quickly realized they had no choice but to talk. "We are prepared to discuss terms," Chancellor Beho said, his crystal body flickering with stress patterns. "But we need assurance that humanity will not use its military advantage to conquer coalition worlds." President Hae Rim smiled gently. "Chancellor, if we wanted to conquer your worlds, we would have done so already. Our goal is not domination, it's equality." Admiral Subin shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The coalition's military leader was still struggling to accept that her vast fleets had been outmaneuvered by a species she had considered primitive just months earlier. "How long have you been planning this?" she asked. 25 years, replied Fleet Admiral Sung Hoon. "Ever since we captured our first coalition monitoring probe and realized we were being watched." The revelation that humans had been aware of coalition surveillance for decades was still shocking to the alien leaders. They had believed their observation technology was completely undetectable, but humans had not only detected it, they had systematically captured and reverse-engineered it. Dr. Hai Jin entered the conference room, escorted by human guards. She had been taken from Nexus 7 when human forces captured the observation station, but she had been treated well. In fact, she had requested to attend the negotiations. Dr. Hai Jin, President Hai Rim, said warmly, "Thank you for joining us. Your research on human civilization has been quite thorough." Hye Jin looked embarrassed. "I never imagined that the subjects of my research were watching me back. You must have known about the observation station for years." "We did," confirmed Commander Dongwu. "But we allowed it to continue operating because it was useful for feeding false information to Coalition headquarters. Your reports helped convince Coalition leaders that humans were progressing much slower than we actually were." Elder Tae Yang, one of the few Viridian leaders who had advocated for peaceful contact with primitive species, leaned forward. "The question now is what comes next? How do we move forward from this situation?" President Hai Rim activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. "We propose the creation of a new Galactic Accord, an organization that includes all intelligent species, regardless of their current technological level." Chancellor Beiho examined the proposal. "You want to give primitive species equal representation with advanced civilizations? We want to give developing species the opportunity to grow and contribute," Hai Rim replied. "The Coalition's policy of isolation and observation has prevented countless species from reaching their full potential." Admiral Ji-hoon, who commanded the human forces patrolling the outer territories, provided additional details. "Our scouts have identified 47 species that are currently under Coalition observation. Most of them have been ready for galactic contact for decades, but Coalition protocols have kept them isolated." The truth was even more shocking than the Coalition leaders realized. While they had been debating humanity's fate, human forces had been making contact with dozens of other primitive species. Using their superior technology and knowledge of Coalition surveillance methods, humans had secretly established communication with worlds across the galaxy. Ambassador Jae-won gestured with all four arms in confusion. "Are you saying you've been interfering with our observation protocols on other worlds?" "We've been offering those species a choice," Captain Na Young replied. "Continue living under Coalition surveillance or join the growing alliance of free worlds." General Wu Jin activated another display showing human fleet positions. 31 species have already chosen to ally with humanity. They are contributing their unique technologies and perspectives to our growing coalition. Chancellor Beiho realized with growing alarm that humanity had not simply defeated the coalition militarily, they had systematically undermined the entire foundation of coalition power. By offering alliance to primitive species, humans had created an alternative to coalition dominance. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Recognition of the new Galactic Accord," President Hai Rim replied. "An end to the isolation of developing species. Fair representation for all intelligent life in galactic affairs. And most importantly, a commitment to cooperation rather than domination." Elder Tae Yang studied the human proposals carefully. As one of the few coalition leaders who had always felt uncomfortable with their treatment of primitive species, he found much to support in the human plan. "The new Galactic Accord would replace the coalition?" he asked. "It would replace the coalition's authority over primitive species," Hai Rim clarified. "Coalition worlds would be welcome to join as equal members, but they would no longer have special privileges based on technological advancement." Admiral Subin struggled with the implications. "You're asking us to give up our position as the galaxy's leading civilization. We're asking you to earn your position through contribution, rather than domination," Fleet Admiral Sung-hoon replied. "The Coalition has advanced technology and centuries of experience. Those are valuable assets that would benefit everyone if shared freely." Dr. Hai Jin found herself in the unique position of understanding both sides. "If I may," she said quietly, "I believe the human proposal offers benefits for everyone. The coalition has become stagnant because we've isolated ourselves from new ideas. Contact with developing species could reinvigorate our own technological and cultural advancement." Over. The following days, the negotiations continued as details of the new Galactic Accord were worked out. The humans proved to be skilled diplomats as well as warriors, offering compromises that addressed coalition concerns while maintaining their core principles. The final agreement established several key points. The coalition would retain control over their own worlds and citizens, but would no longer have authority over developing species. A new governing council would be created with representation based on population and contribution rather than technological advancement. Most importantly, all species would have the right to choose their own path without interference from more advanced civilizations. Commander Dongwu stood before the assembled representatives as the accord was signed. Today marks the beginning of a new age in galactic civilization. For too long, advancement has been measured only by technology. From now on, we will value wisdom, creativity, cooperation, and the unique perspectives that every species brings to our shared future. Dr. He Jin was appointed as the first ambassador of the new order, her years of experience studying different species making her uniquely qualified to help bridge the gap between civilizations. Her first assignment was to visit the primitive worlds that had been under coalition observation and offer them the choice of continued isolation or galactic citizenship. 6 months after the signing of the new Galactic Accord, the first interspecies technology conference was held on a neutral world. Scientists from dozens of species shared their discoveries and innovations, leading to breakthroughs that no single civilization could have achieved alone. The coalition worlds gradually adapted to their new role as partners rather than rulers. Some coalition leaders never fully accepted the change, but most came to appreciate the benefits of cooperation over domination. The galaxy became more dynamic, more creative, and more prosperous as barriers between species were removed. President Hayrim stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Council station, watching ships from dozens of different worlds arriving for the monthly assembly. Each vessel represented a unique civilization with its own history, culture, and contributions to galactic society. The coalition thought they stood alone at the top of galactic civilization, she said to Fleet Admiral Sung Hoon, who had joined her at the viewing window. They never imagined that cooperation could be more powerful than domination. They learned the same lesson that humanity learned long ago, Sung Hoon replied. No species, no matter how advanced, can reach its full potential in isolation. We all grow stronger when we grow together. The age of human isolation was over. The age of coalition dominance was over. The age of true galactic civilization, built on cooperation, respect, and the recognition that every species had something valuable to contribute, had begun. In the end, humanity had not struck like thunder to destroy the old order, but to clear the way for something better. The aliens who thought they stood alone discovered that they had never been alone at all. They had simply been afraid to acknowledge the potential of those they considered beneath them. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had intended.